Holy Toledo. All right, welcome back. On Time Sports Talk. I'm your host, the Remix Casey Schedule, flying solo tonight. The original Eddie Schedule is off doing big time things because he's an executive director. He's big time like that. In case you didn't know, now you know. All right. Well, you didn't think I was going to let the NCAA Championship games go by without talking about a little bit. I'm gonna break it up into three sections. I'm gonna men's game, women's game, some Caitlin Clark, future women's basketball, kind of in those three sections. So let's start with UConn over Purdue. Woo hoo hoo! Oh man, what a game! UConn's defense is incredible. They are everywhere. As a basketball coach, oh my gosh, I love seeing it. I really do. I love the balance of the team. Your leading scorer at 20 points, followed by 15, 11, 11, and 9. Who do you guard? It's something similar to what I tell my team and my players all the time. Because I get players who want to get to the college level and they're like, hey, I want to average this number or this number. Coaches can tell if you play the game the right way. Okay. And they play the game the right way at UConn. And it's what I tell my players is it's a lot harder to guard five guys who average 10 than two who average 20. That you averaging 20 is good for your Twitter, but it ain't good for wins and losses right now. So watching UConn play basketball is it's a treat. I hope they're back next year. Hurley has done an amazing job. I love watching his offense as well. Some of the sets he runs, I put them in my offensive package as well. It's beautiful basketball when you have that many sets that you can run at any given time and execute for multiple positions. I wish people understood the nuance of that. So, like when I would create my sets, I had 5 or 6 for each position, if not more. I mean, you're talking 40 plays just man to man, not even sets for zones and blobs, which would be baseline out of bounds, or slobs, sideline out of bounds. For those that don't know the lingo, it's beautiful, man. And Hurley, you've continued the dynasty that is UConn basketball. I've heard rumors from some big timers like, why wouldn't you go to University of Kentucky? Kentucky is college basketball. No, 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 it's not. UConn is college basketball. It's the face of college basketball. Women's basketball is UConn. It's been Caitlin Clark as an individual for 2 years. But when you think of women's basketball, what team do you think of? You think of the UConn Huskies. They've absolutely dominated. The men's side, 6 championships in the last 25 years, I do believe. It's pretty incredible stuff. And so definitely wouldn't leave for Kentucky. I would stay in Connecticut and keep dominating the sport personally. Purdue, you gave it everything you had. I was cheering for Purdue. The coach in me was all like, UConn's probably going to win. The fan in me, the player in me, the kid who went to Purdue basketball camp before my senior year of high school was rooting for Purdue. I've been to West Lafayette, obviously, and I love the Midwest. By the way, in the spring, in the summertime, the grass in the Midwest might be the greenest ever on the planet, it feels like. But I was stationed in Ohio for 5 years. Basketball in the Midwest is just different. It obviously Indiana, it's a religion. Ohio, I'm going to be honest, it's a religion. And I think Purdue had the right game plan. It just didn't execute correctly. You feed the big man early. UConn did a great job on when they were going to double and when they weren't. The biggest issue I had with Purdue was they took 7 3-pointers. I'm going to say that again, 7 3-pointers. Purdue, you average taking 17 per game all year. and you shot 41% for the year. How do you not take more than that? I know Edie had a monster of a game, 37 points. Honestly, he probably should have got the most outstanding player because he was the most outstanding player when it came to the Final Four. But 37, 12 behind him was Smith, and then 5 and 4 and 2. Man, what? Not a lot of help there for the big fella. And look, I don't get paid the dollars to come up with their game plans. To me, it 7'4" dude. I don't care how good he is. That man never comes off the floor, and I think that had a had an effect. I mean, Edie looked a little gassed with how much they're getting on the ball and had constantly getting pounded on. I think there could have been some strategic rest in there. Sometimes you got to put your best guy out for him to be dominant long down the road. But like I said, I'm not the head coach of Purdue. I don't get paid money like that. I wish I did, but I was cheering for Purdue. I really was, just because I have a small tie when I went to basketball camp there. It was the only basketball camp I ever went to, and went with one of my best friends, John Bowman, and he had family up there, and it was a really good time. Really good time. So congratulations, UConn, back to back dominating performance. And I'll be interested to see what Hurley does with next year's squad. I'd love to see him back, try to make history and win a third straight, because I love his passion. I love his execution. I love what he talked about, how they recruit players and they actually look a lot at their families. That's pretty good stuff. Y'all should watch those videos. Some of those interviews he's done, it lets you get to know the guy. Hopefully one day I'll get the privilege to meet him. All right, let's talk about the women's game. South Carolina, Iowa. South Carolina, congratulations, man. That was a hard-fought game. Uh, cap a capstone to an incredible season, being the sixth team to ever go undefeated. I'm sorry, 15. 15. Texas, UConn has done it 6 times. That's where I got mixed up, which is insane. Tennessee, Baylor, and now South Carolina. Tennessee, Pat Summitt, rest in peace. But Don Staley, you have cemented yourself as one of the best, if it wasn't already in cement. Mad respect as a fellow coach. And I love what you've done in South Carolina, building a monster. And speaking of monsters, when I was watching that game, I had to look up the team roster because I was like, is Iowa just short or what's going on? Because Caitlin Clark looks tall most of the time, and she's 6 foot tall, the same same height as I am, and she looked dwarfed. And I'm sitting there, I look up the roster, and it's 6'7", 6'5", 6'2", 6 foot, 6 foot, like 8 6-footers. I was like, this is bigger than my 6A basketball team that we coached this year. It's insane. It's incredible. And, and they put it together and capped off. I don't think people understand how hard going undefeated is. Night after night, you get every team's best shot in the regular season, not just in the tournament. And, opponents they have a decision to make when they walk into your gym or they see you walk into theirs or on a neutral site, wherever you're playing. And when you're an undefeated team, the opposing team is going to go, well, damn, we ain't got no shots. Let's just take our lumps and get out of here. Or they can say, we're going to give it everything we got, and they're going to feel us after the game. And, most teams rise up and give it everything they can. And Iowa did. They just fell short. And, Caitlin Clark had an amazing career. You don't need to list the accolades. Those mainstream media outlets have listed them all in the last couple of weeks. And just an amazing career by Caitlin and what she's done for the women's game. But let's not stare at or snarl or discredit going to 2 championship games in a row. That's an incredible feat on its own. And I think she has an interesting decision to make. And I believe I've heard she's already made her decision to go pro, and that was her last game. She does have a year of eligibility left. And if I was advising her, I would throw this scenario out here. I would support whatever decision she wants to make. But I would throw this scenario out there. You got one more year left at Iowa. You have unfinished business. If she would have won the championship, I would have said, look, we out. Peace. But the decision she's got to make is she has unfinished business. She didn't win a championship. Greatest women's player potentially ever. No ring in the college game. You got one more year left of eligibility, technically. That transfer portal could bring some loaded guns to Iowa. Maybe you go ring hunt. Just a thought. And the other part of that is financial decision. I saw Ice Cube offered $5 million for her to play in Big Three. If I was WNBA, I'd be scared of that offer, but if I also wouldn't let her do it. The risk reward there is not in the best interest of Caitlin Clark personally, as well as the WNBA and Indiana Fever, who have the first pick, which I would imagine they would take her just because of the boost that she's going to give marketability, jersey sales, ticket sales, what she would mean to your franchise. But I think she has to determine a couple different things. I don't know what her NIL deal is or if there's multiple, but I have a feeling she can make millions at Iowa. She is probably the most marketable she ever will be right now in the gold and black of the Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't think she's going to be more marketable in Indiana. In that market, she's going to be phenomenal. But nationally, I hate to say this, kind of leads into my final point. The height of women's popularity in women's basketball is college basketball. And I hate to say that because I'm a huge Sue Bird fan, a huge Diana Taurasi fan, loved Lisa Leslie when she played, Cheryl Swoops, and they never moved the needle when it came to choices of what I was going to watch. And I'm not trying to say, ooh, women's game is terrible. Hell no, that's not what I'm saying. That the basketball coach in me actually loves watching high level women's basketball, especially in college, because it's more fundamental. It's more pure. The men's game is, you heard it when my little spiel when I talked about the NBA in the last basketball video I did. It's the fundamentals aren't necessarily there compared to the women. The women is a lot more fundamental game, which means aesthetically it's not as pleasing. The men's game is more aesthetically pleasing. The pure raw athleticism, the high flying, what my players would say is the moves they have in their bag and the jelly they have in the jar. Even though I like peanut butter, nice and smooth game. And you don't see that too much in the women's game. Now, you do there's some incredible players and what they do. And they're amazing athletes. I'm not taking anything away from them by any means. So don't be giving me no hate messages going, oh, you don't like women basketball players. That's not it at all. But the WNBA doesn't move the needle when it comes to sports. And I truly hope Caitlin Clark has effect in a positive way for that. And other players that come after her and that are coming out this year that have the star power, but it's almost like the WNBA is a little bit of basketball retirement home for college basketball players. And I hate to say it like that. Most women go overseas to make a lot more money in foreign basketball leagues. But Caitlin Clark's going to take a pay cut going to the WNBA. When she has to give up those NIL deals, now she'll be marketable and she'll get plenty of endorsements and much more than I'll probably ever see or taste or fathom. I'd probably have to hit the lottery to get to her numbers. I'm hoping she elevates the game because since WNBA's inception, it's never been profitable. It's been subsidized by the NBA. And I'd really love to see the league start being able to stand on its own and draw it around its stars to where people are going to the games and supporting the league financially. That way you can help get those salaries up that I know the women deserve it, and ultimately the long term health of the league. You know, if the league was standing on its own, it would have folded like the first WNBA, unfortunately. And so we all want to see it to succeed in the sports world, and I hope Caitlin Clark has a massive impact on that. I just don't know if that's realistic. You know, there's an old saying in the Navy where I come from. It's hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And I really hope Caitlin Clark helps that. I hope Angel Reese helps that. I hope all the all the future stars coming up in high school basketball and college basketball help the women's game keep propelling up, because it has been trending upwards in the last few years. Well, that's about it. I guess I'll tease my next couple. I'm definitely doing a Masters video. I love golf. Um, Shout out to PXG. Linda loves her PXG golf clubs. And so definitely gonna do a Masters one. And then I guess I should stop saying it. It's not good radio etiquette. But there's another one. Sucking at the end of this. Me and my dad have talked about we're going to do a video on what is the best sports month of the year. So let you consider that. I know my answer. I'm interested to see what he comes up with. And we have a lot coming up on the horizon. We got the NFL draft. We got the Masters. You got a lot of playoffs about to start. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of subjects. Probably not going to be able to cover them all, but we'll do our best. So On Time Sports Radio, we love y'all. Shout out to Mission 22 supporting our vets. Camp Hope supporting our vets. Tell Valhalla Project, which is the shirt I'm wearing. Not sponsored by them, but they support a lot of vets and their families and fallen soldiers, sailors, and Marines. And I love any company that does that. So shout out to Brandon Bill. I love y'all's hats, by the way. I use the performance ones when I play golf. Anyways, I'll stop plugging stuff. I'm not getting paid. Not like it's going to affect your buying patterns right now anyway. Anyways, peace. Love y'all. Until next time, all the best.